The year is 326 BC. The heat of the Punjab plains is a physical weight, pressing down on the exhausted armies of Macedonia. Inside the royal pavilion, the air is thick with the scent of incense and the sweat of men who have marched across half the known world. Before Alexander the Great stands a gift from a conquered Indian king. She is a woman of impossible beauty, a creature so perfect she seems carved from marble rather than born of flesh. Her skin glows. Her breath is sweet. The young conqueror, intoxicated by victory and the allure of this strange new land, steps forward to claim his prize, to embrace the woman who represents the submission of the East. But a hand catches his shoulder. It is Aristotle, his old tutor, his face pale with a realization that defies Western logic. He commands a slave to bring a circle of fresh any herbs and places a poisonous snake within it. He then orders the girl to breathe upon the reptile. The girl exhales, and the snake convulses, dying instantly. Aristotle turns to the king, his voice trembling not with fear of armies, but of biology itself. "Do not touch her," he warns. "She is not a woman. She is a vessel of death. She is a Vishakanya." This scene, immortalized in the pseudo-Aristotelian text Secretum Secretorum, marks the moment the West first collided with one of the most terrifying concepts of ancient Indian statecraft. While the Greeks viewed her as a monster of folklore, a creature of magic and superstition, the reality was far colder and more calculated. The Vishakanya, or Poison Maiden, was not a myth born of campfire ghost stories. She was a product of the Arthashastra, the supreme manual of political realism, and the result of a scientific application of toxicology known as Okaseta. In the ruthless geopolitical theater of the Magadha kingdom, where the Mauryan and Nanda dynasties fought for the soul of the subcontinent, the human body was merely another weapon to be forged, tempered, and utilized. The Vishakanya was the ultimate expression of this philosophy, a woman whose very essence had been transmuted into a biological weapon, capable of decapitating an enemy state with a single, intimate touch. To understand the Poison Maiden, one must strip away the romanticism of the Arabian Nights and look into the laboratories of ancient Indian toxicologists. The process of creating a Vishakanya was a multi-angeronal experiment in Mithridatism, the practice of inducing immunity through gradual exposure to toxins. According to the medical commentaries of Dalhana and the strategic doctrines of Chanakya, the process began in infancy. The state would select baby girls, often orphans or those born under astrological signs predicting early widowhood, effectively marking them as expendable assets. From the second day of life, their diet was laced with minute quantities of poison snake venom, aconite, or arsenic. Those who died were discarded as failed experiments. Those who survived were fed increasing doses, their physiology slowly adapting to the lethal chemical environment. This was not magic, it was the brutal application of Ayurvedic principles. The concept of Sat-M-Ya suggests that a living organism can adapt to unwholesome environments if the transition is gradual enough. Over years, the girl's body would achieve a state of toxic saturation. The poison did not kill her because it had become part of her biological baseline, yet her bodily fluids, her sweat, her saliva, and her sexual secretions remained lethal to anyone else. She became a walking paradox, a woman who appeared to be the pinnacle of health and vitality, yet whose embrace caused flesh to rot and hearts to stop. The text described the symptoms of her victims with clinical detachment, immediate cardiac, the sloughing of skin, and death that arrived silently, often attributed to natural causes or the wrath of gods, leaving no trace of a weapon because the weapon was the lover herself. The primary architect of this silent warfare was Chanakya, the prime minister and kingmaker who orchestrated the rise of Chandragupta Maurya. Chanakya was a man who viewed ethics as a luxury that a sovereign could not afford. His Arthashastra is a cold analysis of power where espionage is described as the eyes and ears of the state. In his vision, open warfare was a last resort, wasteful of resources and unpredictable in outcome. It was far more efficient to eliminate a rival king through silent punishment or to sinhaudama. The Vishakanya was a specialized asset in his vast network of spies, reserved for high-value targets where conventional assassination was impossible. One of the most documented operations involving a Vishakanya occurred during the chaotic transition from the Nanda to the Mauryan dynasty. A rival king named Parvadak stood as a significant obstacle to Chandragupta's total consolidation of power. According to the historical play Mithridatism, a Vishakanya was originally sent by the Nanda minister to kill Chandragupta. Chanakya, through his network of stationary spies and double agents, intercepted the intelligence. In a move of characteristic pragmatism, he did not destroy the assassin. Instead, he redirected her. He manipulated the diplomatic protocols to have the gift delivered to King Parvatak. The result was a surgical removal of a political threat, executed without a single Mauryan soldier drawing a sword. Parvadak died in the throes of passion, and the Mauryan Empire expanded into the power vacuum, the true cause of the king's death buried under rumors of sudden illness. The use of women in the Mauryan intelligence apparatus extended far beyond the specialized Vishakanya. The state maintained the Gupidivya Ranganasena, a secret army of female operatives who permeated every layer of society. These were not merely passive observers, they were active agents of chaos. They infiltrated the harems of rival monarchs, disguised themselves as nuns to enter high-security zones, and worked in gambling dens to gather blackmail material. The Arthashastra even details the test of lust, a counter-Tengales and measure where female spies were sent to seduce the king's own ministers. If a minister succumbed to the woman's inducements to betray the king, he was purged. The women of the Gupidivya Ranganasena were professionals, earning salaries comparable to high-ranking military officers, a testament to their value in a state that prioritized information above all else. The terror of the poison maiden was so potent that it bled into the folklore of the region, creating a blurred line between historical fact and urban legend. While modern science questions the biological feasibility of a woman whose touch is instantly fatal, the psychological impact of the legend was a weapon in itself. It fostered an atmosphere of paranoia in royal courts. Kings became terrified of intimacy, viewing every beautiful stranger as a potential assassin. This fear was not unfounded. Centuries later, the Sultan of Gujarat, Mahmud Shah, reportedly adopted the practice himself. Historical chronicles describe him as a man raised on poisons, his body so toxic that a fly settling on his hand would drop dead instantly. It is said that any woman who shared his bed was found dead the next morning, a reversal of the Vishakanya archetype, where the king himself became the biological weapon, ensuring that no assassin could get close enough to strike. The training of a Vishakanya represented the ultimate terrasur of the self. From childhood, these women were denied human contact, isolated to prevent accidental deaths, and raised with the singular purpose of becoming a disposable instrument of statecraft. They were the untamed feminine energy, the destructive force of the goddess Kali, harnessed and leashed by patriarchal political structures. In the literature of the time, such as the Katha Saratsagara, they are often depicted as tragic figures, cursed by their own nature, unable to love without destroying. Yet, from the perspective of the state, they were merely assets expensive to produce, dangerous to maintain, and discarded once their purpose was served. The legacy of the Vishakanya is a testament to the sophistication and cruelty of ancient Indian political science. It reveals a world where toxicology and psychology were intertwined, where the boundaries between medicine and warfare were non-existent. The poison maiden stands as a dark monument to the lengths human ingenuity will go to secure power. She reminds us that in the grand calculus of empire, the human body is just another territory to be conquered, colonized, and weaponized, leaving behind a history written not just in ink, but in the invisible, lethal fluids of the silent war.